Hey everybody, it's Durf, and welcome back to another episode of How to Make Mods for Scrap Mechanic. Today we've got a mini tutorial for you guys. We'll be doing a recap on creating a custom texture. The last lesson I showed you guys the basics on creating a block texture. Today we'll be showing you the creation of a Diff, ASG, and a normal map texture from scratch. This is important to understand before we get into the next big lesson with custom 3D models. So, for today's mini lesson, we'll be creating this block texture that kind of looks like, well, it looks pretty stylish and kind of looks like a Louis Vuitton handbag or something like it. It's got, if you look really closely, it's got that texture look to it. Sort of looks like leather. And it's also got these gold symbols on it that are really, really shiny, depending on how the light hits it. And, of course, it's paintable. Let's try black with it. Oh yeah, the black looks really nice actually. Black and gold. Let's try a red texture. Yeah, it looks alright. The darker colors look better with this one. Let's try green. That's great. It kind of looks like Christmas. And a blue one. Oh, that's really nice. It really makes the gold pop out. So this can make for some like really fancy or luxury wallpaper in your Scrap Mechanic home or something. I don't know. But let's get right into today's lesson and see how a texture like this is made. Alright, so out here on the desktop, we're going to start by creating our texture images in GIMP. I won't be showing the process of how to create the mod in the modding tool because that was shown in the last lesson, and this is just a mini tutorial. Okay, so I'm going to start by creating my Diff Texture. And I need two symbols for that to work, so I'm going to go ahead and start by importing the first symbol, which is just the picture of a bearing that I have here. And we'll just move that to the top layer so we can see it. There we go. And we also need another picture, and for that, we're going to go into the Scrap Mechanic data folder, into Terrain, Textures, Man-Made, and we're going to pick the tank diff. And that opens up a picture that looks like this. So as you can see, right there is our symbol smack dab in the middle. So what we're going to do is just go ahead and take this. We're going to copy it. And we're going to get rid of that. We don't need that anymore. But then we're going to go back into here and we're just going to go edit, paste as, new layer. So now we have both of the symbols that we're going to be using in the texture. So from here, we're going to start, actually I'm going to organize this a little bit. I'm going to create a layer group, and I'm just going to name this Diff. And inside the Diff folder, I'm going to put both of our symbols. So this entire folder is going to be our Diff texture, and we'll create other folders for an ASG and normal map later on. It's all going to be in the same GIMP file. Alright, so now that we have our Diff folder ready to go, and our symbols are in it, we're going to edit our symbols a little bit so that they're closer to what we need. So I'm just going to duplicate the bearing symbol, and I'm going to hide this other one for now. We don't need it. So for the bearing image, I want to keep this blue part and this inner gray part, but none of the black sections. I want all of that to be paintable. So I think an easy way to do that is to go to Colors, Brightness and Contrast. Here it is. We're just going to raise that contrast and brightness all the way up. There we go. So it just gets really crisp and the colors are easy to cut out from each other. So I'm going to click OK on that. I'm going to go Colors again, Hue and Saturation, and I'm going to turn Saturation all the way down so it's just black and white. And I'm going to go back to Brightness and Contrast. I'm just going to raise the contrast all the way up again. Just so we get this black and white image. So now we want to get just the white part of the bearing. So an easy way to do that, I guess, is to take this background layer. We're going to go Colors and Invert so it's black layer. There, this is exactly the image that I want. So I'm going to stick that under the bearing, and I'm going to click on the bearing layer. Actually, before I do that, I don't want the bearing to be this size. It's a little bit too big for my taste, so I'm going to go to Layer and Scale Layer. It's 256 by 256. I'm just going to do it halfway, so it's 128. There you go, a little bit smaller. Now that I have the correct size that I want, I'm going to right-click on the bearing layer and merge down onto the black layer. So this is all one complete layer. So because it's all one complete layer, I can do something pretty easy with it. I just go to Colors, Color to Alpha. We've used this before, and instead of using white, which is the default value, I'm choosing black. So that's going to leave everything that was black to be transparent, and all that's left is the exact symbol that I was looking for. Just the inner gray part and what was the blue section there. So this is going to be our first symbol for our new texture. Okay, so now that I have the exact image that I need, I want to change the color from white to something a little bit more gold. So I'm going to go to Colors and Colorify. This is going to let us change the whites to any color that we choose. But normally I would choose a yellow color for gold, but the way that reflections work in Scrap Mechanic, it has a little bit of a green tint to it. So I'm going to be using something a little bit different. We're going to go with a light yellow. We're going to do full red and halfway on blue, and maybe 3/4 of the way on green, so that it's a little bit more orange than yellow. Yeah, just like that. And I know this looks a little bit weird right now, but in game you'll see it'll turn out just the right color. So click OK, and there we go, we have our color applied. So that's our first symbol. Let's go ahead and start with the next one right here. So for this symbol, let's get it into the center right now. I'm using the Align tool. We'll move the layer out here. So I'm using the Align tool just to get this to the center of the image. Not for any reason specifically, just because I like to work with things in the center. And for this layer, I'm going to go Colors, Invert. And the goal here is to get this symbol to be the same thing that we did with the bearing. We want just like a white symbol. So I'm going to go back to Brightness and Contrast and crank up the contrast there and maybe lower the brightness a little bit. Or maybe raise it? I don't know. Something like that. Maybe not too much contrast. There we go, that looks good. And I just click OK. And then I go back to Hue and Saturation. I lower the saturation all the way, so it's a black and white image. And we go back to Brightness and Contrast, and I just raise the contrast all the way. So this is a very simple way of just getting that symbol out of the image. And we're going to do the same thing, but instead I'm just going to go Layer to Image Size. So I increase the size of the layer, and now I'm just going to fill in the rest with black. So here we go. We got our next symbol ready to go. And if you remember last time, we just go Color to Alpha, get rid of all the black, and as you can see, now we have our symbol ready to go. So let's go back to Colorify, and our last color is already there ready to go. So hey, and we got the color applied. So now we have both of our symbols in the image centered. We want a repeating pattern that alternates between the bearing and this symbol. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Layer and click Auto Crop Layer. That's going to remove all of the transparent areas all around the sides of the symbol. So what we're left with is a layer with just the symbol in it. Now I'm going to go to Image, Configure Grid, because I want this to be a 128 by 128 grid, Show Grid, and Snap to Grid. So what this allows us to do now is we're going to take our symbol here, and we can move it around and snap it to any one of these squares here, just like this. So I'm going to move it all the way up here to the top left corner like that. And this is what's going to allow us to create our repeating texture. So how to do that? We just duplicate the layer another 3 times because we need 1 in each corner. Just like this. Like this. So now in Scrap Mechanic, when you create blocks, it will be able to repeat endlessly between the bearing symbol and this other symbol here. I'm not sure what to call it. So there you have it. We're finished our diff texture. So you can go ahead and export it as your block texture underscore diff dot PNG or TGA, whichever format you prefer. I'm going to use PNG because it's a smaller file size and means smaller downloads for everyone using the mod. So, onto the ASG texture for this block. Let's go ahead and just duplicate the entire diff folder, and I'm going to rename the copy as ASG. I'm actually going to right-click and click Merge Layer Group. That takes the entire group that we just had and merges it into one layer. And here you can see the layer goes a little bit outside the image, but that's just because our symbols extended past the borders a little bit, so it's not a big problem. We can just go layer to image size, and that will cut all the extra outside of the image like that. So with this ASG layer, we need a new layer. Layer, doesn't matter, just transparent. Okay, so for this new layer underneath the ASG, I want to set just a base color that's going to be applied to the entire ASG texture, and this is going to be like that sort of leathery look that we're going to get. I think leather has like a little bit of shine to it, but it's not like super shiny like glass or metal. So I'm going to fill this text. I'm going to fill this layer with a base green color. It's going to be, we'll say halfway on green. We don't want any blue because we don't want any glow, and we can just ignore the red for now. So there we go. We've got our base sort of shininess for the leather, and we don't really want it too reflective, so we're going to go for opacity, and we're going to put opacity maybe 1. So it's not really visible to us, but the game will know that we don't want that much reflection from the environment. Now for the ASG layer, we're going to go to colors. No, not brightness and contrast. We're going to go to colors, hue and saturation, and we're going to lower the saturation down all the way. Raise the brightness a little bit. I guess it doesn't really matter. But we're going to go brightness and contrast to make sure, there we go, that all of the symbols in the image are white. And that's because we need the white to use colorify. And for colorify, we're going to use the brightest green that there is, because these are going to be the golden symbols, and gold is really shiny. At least to me, that's what gold looks like. Okay, so we want to adjust the opacity of this ASG layer, because we don't want the gold symbols to be mirrors. So we're going to put it down to maybe 50%. Oh, I still have the diff texture showing underneath. Just make sure to remove that from your view so that you can see your actual ASG texture. So there you can see our shiny symbols are a little bit transparent there. And this is our complete ASG texture. We have a little bit shiny but not reflective leathery background, and a very shiny, sort of reflective symbols that will be gold. So we can go ahead and export as our block ASG.png. Alright, this means we're ready to start our normal map texture. So we're going to start with the same thing, I guess. We're going to copy the diff layer entirely, and we're just going to rename it to nor. And we're going to make our ASG layers invisible, just to be easier to work with. For the normal map group, we're just going to merge the entire group into one layer. Make it visible so we can see it. So for this, it's just a transparent layer with the symbols on it. For this, we want to invert the colors. because we want it to be very dark, and we're going to go brightness and contrast. We're going to raise the contrast all the way up, but lower the brightness all the way down, so we get nothing but black symbols. We actually need a new layer, and we're going to fill this with white underneath there. So this is the basics of a normal map texture, but we want to do a little bit more than this. So I'm going to copy this white layer, and on this white layer I'm going to go filters, noise, and I'm going to choose RGB noise. It's basically a menu that lets you generate a bunch of random pixels on your image, and with these sliders you can choose the amount of colors of each pixel that's randomly generated. But for this, we're going to unselect independent RGB, because what we want is actually to adjust the red, green, and blue all at the same time, and we're just going to crank them all the way to the top. So we get what looks like the static of an old television set. And we just click OK, and there we have our noise. But this isn't entirely what we want, because the more black something is in a normal map texture, the more elevated it's going to look. So we don't want all of those little specks in the back to be so elevated. So for this layer, I'm just going to reduce the opacity to 50%, and there we have the basics of the normal map that we need. Oh, for this top layer, we're just going to go layer to image size, just to make sure that it's snug to the dimensions of the image that we need. So, with the symbols, and with the... Oh, before we continue, we actually want this... We want the noise that we just created. We want that to be a repeating pattern so we don't notice any seams in our leather. So, an easy way to do that is just to select the top left corner here. We're going to go copy. Then we're just going to edit, paste as new layer. And we're going to do that a few more times. Paste as new layer. Paste as new layer. There we go. So to make sure our noise is a repeating pattern, we're just going to delete the rest of the noise that we don't need. And we're going to take the top left section over here. All of the layer copies that we have. So for this layer, I'm going to go layer, transform, flip vertically, and that's going to be our bottom left noise. For the next one, I'm going to go layer, transform, flip horizontally, and that's going to be the top right. And one more, we're going to go layer, transform, flip horizontally, and flip vertically, and that's going to be the bottom left. And for these layers, we also want to make them opacity 50 to match the rest of it. There we go. So now we have our noise that's going to be repeating no matter how many blocks we place next to each other. We're not going to see any seams except for maybe some awkwardness around the middle there. So now that we have our normal map basically ready to go, I'm going to go ahead and merge down on all these layers so that we have the normal map only on one single layer. And down onto the white. There we go. So now this is our single layer for our normal map. If you don't know what a normal map does, though, it's if it's just white, then it's going to be completely flat. But if you put, like if you just had the black bearing symbol, for example, the black will be popping out of the white, like a bump. So the more black something is, the more of a bump it's going to create. The less black something is, like these gray dots that are in the background, they're just going to be little bumps. So in GIMP, you can't normally create normal map textures, but you can if you install a little bit of extra software. I'm going to be linking down in the description the plugin that I'm using. But don't worry, if you're using a program like Photoshop, there's already a built-in way to create normal maps, so you don't have to worry about that. So in GIMP, the normal map plugin, it'll appear in filters right here. If you go to map and normal map, a menu is going to pop up and it looks like this. It's going to show you a little bit of a preview for your image. What we want to do is we're going to choose a filter that makes the image... Oh, that looks nice. Except that might be a little bit too smooth around the edges. I want maybe a little bit more of a defined bump. 5x5 seems to be pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and just go with 5x5, but keep in mind that this is the decision that you guys have to make depending on what your texture is. If you choose 9x9, you might actually want that depending on the look of your texture. I'm just going with 5x5 because that's what I think is going to look good for the gold symbols on this leathery texture. So 5x5, and okay, we're going to see how that looks. So as you can see, it already looks like the bearing's like popping out, and here you can see there's like little bumps on the background here. This is not what we want though. What we want to do is so remember the menu had an option that said invert X. Normal maps in Scrap Mechanic, they have this blue section here. Like it looks like there's like a blue light coming from the top right, and it's shining on the sides of all these edges here. We want the blue light coming from the top left, and the shadow, it looks like a red shadow. We want that to be on the bottom right. So that's what invert X does. So we're going to undo, go back into the normal map window, 5x5, yep, and we invert X, and then we click OK. Here we go, we see the light blue, it's like the light's coming from the top left, and it's shining onto our bumps, and the red shadows, the pink-red shadows are on the bottom left. But this is still not what we want because this looks like the image is popping out of the leather. What we want is to actually have the image pop into the leather to show, like the leather is going to be higher, the leather is going to be popping out more than the symbols are. So again, we're going to undo. We're going to go back into the normal map filter. And instead of scale 1, we're going to go down to scale -1. That's going to invert the bumpiness that we just set. And there you have it. The symbols now look like they're popping into the texture, and all these little bumps now look like they're divots, I guess. They're not goosebumps, they're like little potholes. So this is our normal map. You can go ahead and file, export as the block_nor.png. And this is our first normal map texture. So you can go ahead and wrap it all up in the Scrap Mechanic mod tool that you've learned how to use in lesson 3 on how to create blocks. Just remember to set your diff, ASG, and nor textures. One thing to note. In the previous lesson, I showed you guys what tiling meant. And if you use a tiling of 4 for 512 by 512, this is what it's going to look like, and it's going to repeat every 4 blocks. In my opinion, that's a little bit too big. I want the symbols to be a little bit smaller. Like this bearing symbol is going to be the exact size of a bearing if we leave it at this tiling. So for this specific block in the mod tool, I'm going to set the tiling to 2, and I'm going to show you how it's going to look like. Even though we're using a 512 by 512 image, it's still, we can use any tiling setting we want. It doesn't have to be restricted to 4 if we're using 512 by 512, but here, if we go configure grid, if we did a tiling of 2, then it would be at 256, like this. So here, this is the repeating, these would be the size of one block. So it would be repeating pattern every two blocks. Just keep in mind that you can set the tiling to whatever value you want, and make sure you set it to something appropriate to the look that you're going for. And be sure to save this GIMP file as a .xcf if you want to come back later to it and work on it. So let's go back into the game and take a look at our new block. Alright, so we are back into the game. Let's go ahead and see our new block. Here it is. Oh, you might notice that the icon looks a little bit different than the preview that I have. That's because I used a tiling of 4 to generate the icon in the mod tool, but then later I changed the tiling to 2 because I preferred the smaller symbols when I actually placed the block. So I used the tiling of 4 to generate the icon, then I went into the mod and I changed the tiling to 2 so I can have the symbol size that I want. And here's how it looks like, with a nice brown color for the default. Here it is. You can see all the little bumps. It gives that sort of textured look. I mean, it was a very lazy way of doing it, but it works, right? And the gold symbols look really nice. It reflects the environment just a little bit, and it reflects the sunlight a lot. So it looks like shiny gold symbols on a leathery background. With the proper brown color, it looks exactly like the look I was going for. So there you have it. That's how you create a texture from start to finish. I encourage you guys to come up with your own designs, and you're going to have to use image editing techniques that I did not show in this tutorial. This tutorial assumes that you know how to create and edit images a little bit on your own, but this is just going to show you the basics of how to create a complete texture with Diff, ASG, and Nor from scratch. So there you have it, a completely original texture. No one in the world has it. And I'll probably be adding this to the mod pack after, like as soon as I'm done editing this tutorial, so you guys can have a chance to play around with it yourself. But don't let that stop you from trying to recreate this from scratch based on the tutorial like I did. It's good to practice the image editing skills and creating textures from scratch. So this concludes the mini tutorial for today. I hope you guys learned something new, and I hope that it's going to help you guys when you're creating your own mods. If you like this video, be sure to leave a big thumbs up, and if you have any questions, leave them down in the comments down below, and I'll try to answer them all. We're going to be getting into some more advanced topics in later tutorials, so I'm going to have to make some assumptions on what you guys know. So from now on, I'm going to assume that a lot of you already know how to edit images, and we're going to be going at a much faster pace from now on. How to Make Mods Lesson 4 is coming up next, and in that tutorial we're going to be creating a wheel. We're going to be doing it complete with Diff, ASG, and Nor, so if you didn't really understand the normal map this time around, don't worry, I'll be going through it again in the next lesson. And a huge thank you to my Patreon supporters, because videos like this one would not even be possible without their support, and they keep videos like this one coming. So thank you guys! If you would like to be a Patreon supporter, helping me create tutorial videos like this one, or supporting mod production on Scrap Mechanic, or hey, maybe you want to help me beta test some of the new mods before they go public, head on over to patreon.com/Durf, or if you just want to help support my YouTube channel, go to youtube.com/Durf and subscribe. That's going to be it for today though. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!